Okay guys, let's have a look at Mozzie from Easy Little Peppers by Elissa Milne. Now, Mozzie is another name for a mosquito. So try and keep that in mind as we're learning this piece, that we should make this piece sound like a little buzzing insect if we can. We're going to look at this piece in two different sections, the first two lines and the second two lines, okay? One of the big things to pay attention to as we're looking at this piece is dynamics. All right, you'll see lots of different dynamic levels, and this comes in especially important in our third line going into the fourth line. Okay, it's quite easy in the first two lines because you just have a mezzo piano and then a mezzo forte, and then there's a forte at the end of the second line. Looking at the first two lines, it's quite simple actually. You can even almost go hands together on the first line right away. Because the right hand plays just a D and F, and the left hand is in a D minor position. You have a few novel fingerings, in here because of this G sharp or A flat that you see written in the part. Now G sharp and A flat, by the way, are the same note. So you see it in the first measure, second measure, and third measure written differently inharmonically. All right, those are all the same note. It's this note. Okay, all right. Now pay attention to the fingering because you're going to need them, exact same fingers, in the second line. All right, here's the first line really slow, right? I'm going to go 5, 1, 5, 2, 1. Try to accent the sharp. 5, 1, 5, 2, 1, 3. Accent the flat. 1, 5, 3, 5, 1, 2. Okay? Now that is the very beginning, the first three measures. Try to work those accents in as you work on this piece. Let's try it again. Ready? 5, 1, 5, 2, 1, and 5, 1, 5, 2, 1, 3, 5, 3, 5, 1, 2. And this next part is an octave, so they play the same notes. And put that grace note just before the beat. It's 5, 4, 3, 1, all right, or 1, 3, 5, 1, 2, 3, 5 in the left hand. Okay. Now, the second line. The second line is very similar to the first line, just a little bit louder. But the challenge here is to play staccato on the right hand as you're trying to play that left hand line. And you notice we have a lot of slurs and staccatos here that we're going short, slur, short at the end of every one of these. Short, slur, short, short, accent short. Okay, so we have to keep those slurs and those staccatos happening in the left line, which is the melody, while we're doing that in the right hand. So coordination-wise, that can be the big challenge in this line. So you'll have to practice it a lot, I think. But it should sound a little bit like short, opposite directions, okay? All right, I've tried really carefully to keep my note links correct in that. And if you notice, the left hand was doing exactly the same fingers as on the first line. And that's very important to keep that consistent, okay? Okay, having a look at the third line going into the fourth line, all right? And the fourth line as well, the end of this piece, all right? It looks like it might be very hard, but I just want to draw your attention to the fact that in every measure, only one of the hands is moving. Okay, so it's not as hard as it looks. All right, so the right hand will start in this D minor position again. All right, and the left hand is playing a G and a B. All right, when you practice this slowly and try to stitch these little parts together, try and practice the dynamics along with it. Okay, so we're going to start piano, which means soft, with a little crescendo going to that accented A flat. All right, so accent. Okay, so that is the first measure, right? And then the second measure, your left hand goes down to our D position here. And you're going to want to crescendo up until a mezzo forte here. So I suggest play this a little bit louder with a small crescendo. Okay, let's look at those two measures again. Here we go. Here's the first measure, soft. Accent. Bring this out a little bit. Crescendo. Okay, now for the third measure, you notice I wouldn't move your fingers from what you just did in the first measure because you're using exactly the same notes. All right, they're just a slightly different variation on it. And here you have to play at a mezzo forte with a crescendo. So you're going to go accent. Okay, again. Let's add that left hand in there afterwards. Okay, right? And then the last measure. All right. Now, what I would do is I would always add the next downbeat if you can when you're working on measure by measure like we just did. Okay, so for example, we'll do that again. This is measure 3. Put that accent, that downbeat in there. All right, and when you get comfortable with that, then you can just add that measure 4 along with it. Line. All right, notice I added the downbeat of the last line. All right, and when you play the last line, stay fortissimo. Remember all those staccatos, and these basically use the same fingers going in opposition. All right, watch the sharp. All right, you have to watch. There's a 6th on the very end there. All right, and then you're going to jump down to the low D here. All right, I would suggest using either your 2nd finger, your 3rd finger, or your 5th finger for that note. Try not to use 1 or 4. Those are less good choices, okay? Once you have each of those individual measures going, try and stitch them together. So we're going to start again in measure 9. So you go really slow. Doing all the dynamics and articulations, and just practice going, taking turns with your hands, being active. And that's basically it for Mozzie. So I'm going to put in also kind of a slow play along with a click of half speed so you can practice it with the metronome. I really highly encourage you to play with the metronome because there's a lot of rhythmic elements in this piece. Okay, good luck learning it, have fun, and we'll see you in the next video. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's it for this video. If you found this video helpful, please consider clicking on that like button and subscribing to my channel. Thanks for watching.